I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and these are the semifinals of the United Kingdom Carcassonne Online Championship 2025. And this time we can indeed call it the United Kingdom Carcassonne Championship, not just England Carcassonne Championship, because for the first time, at least in these streams, we're going to have ourselves a proper Welsh player with the most interesting Carcassonne backstory. So the match today is between Welsh expert Owen Hurcum and former national champion Chris Tucker. There is a lot of symmetry in the screen names of both of these players. We can see that their screen names are breaking British stereotypes, as there's no regard for their privacy. The numbers at the end of their screen names mean exactly what you think they are. And Owen's initials just happen to be over here. So let me first of all talk about Owen a little bit, because they could be one of the very few, or maybe the only, perhaps, player who started playing a variant of Carcassonne before the actual base game. They have been playing Carcassonne Hunter-Gatherer since like 2003, and then just in 2022, they tried out regular Carcassonne, so that's 19 years after the actual, their introduction to Carcassonne-like substances. And only this year they started playing competitively after attending the United Kingdom National In-Person Championship in 2025, earlier this spring. And look at that, already a rating of 549 after just 440 games. So talk about a rising star. Chris Tucker, or Fanatical Lime, is of course well known not only as the brother of Matt Tucker, the 2023 world champion, but also as a former national champion himself. I believe Chris Tucker won the whole thing in 2024. Yes, 2024 is when he won the in-person British Championship. So now they will be competing for a final spot where Matt Hiely-Rayner is awaiting them. Now, briefly about the championship itself. If you viewed the stream of the other semifinals, that you will already have known how the championship works. There were two groups. Two top players qualified from each groups, and now we're having ourselves the playoff of the semifinals and finals. So there's a bit of a difference that the Fanatical Lime just defeated everybody, including David Faraci, including former national champion Wallace Prime, and OJH had a tougher time. They barely eked it out on tiebreakers. As you can see, there were several players in that group, both Vengi Limited, the Naughty Bear, both Jack Fowler, Jacques Fuss, who had just ever so slightly worse tiebreakers than them, and Owen managed to make it to the semis. So I'm not sure who the favorite is. By rating and by experience, of course, it is going to be Fanatical Lime, because his rating is now 628, but of course, nothing is guaranteed here. The difference in rating is less than 100. So we're gonna jump in and see what happens. So OJH is playing with the red Welsh meeples. Oh, look, I think I just realized what their avatar is like. Isn't the red meeple here instead of the Welsh dragon? I think that's what it is. Anyway, we can see two monasteries already on the board from yellow. That is Fanatical Lime, who has the exact same color choices as his brother. Red, of course, with the lead on the scoreboard due to this completed city. A very early farmer, but one which has a lot of potential. And this here monastery, which actually nicely controls 3 features of his opponents. Overall, very good position for red. Yellow doesn't have too much to complain about, but a slight advantage goes to Owen at the very start. high small red van. So Fanatical Lime is now on the scoreboard as a result of completing this 4-point city. 6 more points for 2 roads go to OJH. These are kind of natural moves. One concern for Owen is maybe these city caps over here on the right. So this field does look like it has a lot of potential, but then suddenly there's a counter field which might have fewer green squares but more completed cities on it, so that's a bit of a concern. A greater concern is the fact that Fanatical Lime is about to block Owen's road here, and that is a mistake not to do so. I really don't like the prioritization here. I generally admire aggression in the sense that, you know, we're picking off this here empty Dorito. We try to build some sort of lip-shaped city. I just think that in that particular instance, going here or here, no, really here is just so much more important, because there is one tile in the deck, the Road Monastery, that could go over here for 6 points and an endless expansion of this field, that the impact of that tile is so bad that we need to basically avoid it at all costs. Fanatical Lime continues to build. OGH now makes some blocking, which makes a lot of sense. Now there are only 2 tiles that fit into this square. There are now even some opportunities of somehow getting a couple of Doritos and tying this here yellow meeple towards this block square, but not something that is an imminent threat. Owen starts a new city, trying to harass the city of Fanatical Lime. Unsuccessfully so far, but at least Owen makes Chris use his last meeple not for long, as yellow finishes the 7-point road, and this is a great tile for Owen. He can finally bail out of this extremely dangerous road. And the reason why he's still thinking about this, he's of course gonna go there, but he's thinking whether it's worth to drop a farmer. He decides not. That's his reasonable decision. I think it goes either way, really. This is a measly 6-point farm, of course, with not of expansion potential, but the idea is that if your opponent does happen to draw the last dagger to fit into this square, then the expansion of the farm would occur naturally. Hi, Kirilo. Fanatical Lime finishes yet another city, starts a new one, threatens to get himself a city cap and possibly drop a farmer to equalize this here farm. I don't think it should be a great concern for Owen. If I'm red, I don't think I really bother attacking this city here right now. Yeah, I do something like this. I actually quite like it. So just to take care of the most important threats, we block this here square, making sure that this meeple never sees the lights of day. Owen here with a fantastic splitter tile. So many options. This is certainly one of them. Finishing a city, building up his field. This farmer is already worth 9 points. There's going to be a Dorito tile that belongs over here to make it even more. Possibly Chris wants to go here with a straight line, trying to prevent certain tiles from going here. That would actually take away 6 possible city finishing tiles. I think this is an important move, right? Because all 5 road Doritos, sorry, regular Doritos are still in the deck, and now they don't fit here anymore. A curve for Owen, who has currently less than 11 minutes on the clock, and Fanatical Lime is doing good time management, I guess. 3 minutes have not even been spent, but the position of yellow is just very difficult, and I think it all comes down to this meeple. This move essentially costs 2 meeples for Chris, because first of all, they got their own guy blocked, and second, they failed to block their opponent when they had the chance. So it's a rather big swing and could end up being game decisive. Red tries to permanently block this here square, and now they will absolutely succeed with that. They might even want to start a new road since they have the meeples, but I think it's fine either way. With 5 more crossroads remaining, I'm inclined to meeple that road, but then if we do, our opponent gets a road Dorito. With their ruin, they're now going to control our road meeple, and this is not such a pretty situation. On the other hand, maybe I like placing a meeple here, because if our opponent does something to it, that will divert attention from this here city cap. Yeah, you see, the problem is now that our opponent gets 4 easy points, and then these are actually 6 points because they will eventually take advantage from this here square. We might even have to just go here and attack this ruin right now, because the ruin's already worth 7 points. It's going to be worth 10 points once this guy expands. But maybe not. Maybe we just go here peacefully and we try to increase the potential of our city. Maybe drop a farmer over here. Try to finish the city, drop another farmer. Basically steal the farm from this poor yellow guy. And end up controlling 2 fields for 12 points here and for 9 points here. And this is exactly what Owen does. And so far, really playing solidly. Not placing meeples in precarious spots. Being reasonably aggressive. Not wasting too many tiles on unwarranted blocking. Only blocking with tiles which are not valuable. Same goes for Chris, who now tries to block this here sensitive square. Now a partial defense here from Owen is going to make it a bit harder to do. There's still 3 road Doritos that fit into this square. And 3 straight lines to successfully complete the block, along with a few other tiles, of course. OJ. Oh, that is an interesting coincidence. They can have now a road for themselves or a monastery. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. So the only road scoring option is over here, which actually adds a lot of green squares to this here shared field in the future. I'm not sure whom that benefits. I think we're better meepling a monastery, and it's a bit subtle, but basically I want to keep this road here open, because in case I get a crossroads, I might want to take these 2 points. But then on the other hand, if I take a crossroads, yeah, no, maybe we do take away these 2 points. Because then if we take a crossroads, we need to use it over here for defense. So it doesn't really benefit all that much to have these empty road ends on the board. An alternative to go here, of course, makes a lot of sense as well. It's a 5-point monastery. It sets up yet another road. Yeah, that could work very well. And this monastery gets built up very quickly in a position like this. So maybe I do like that situation. And they do that exactly. Unfortunately, it's not going to quite work, as this here square is blocked. But still, that is a reasonable monastery here, just to equalize the potential of that guy. Yellow is still going to take considerable time trying to complete these here squares. OJ just keeps building their city. And yellow now is in a difficult position with their final meeple. I think what he has to do here, unfortunately, is just to go over here and spend their last meeple and try to attack that city and just hope that they have a Dorito soon enough to equalize. Because I absolutely resent the idea of letting red draw a city cap and drop a farm of themselves. And this is exactly what Chris does, albeit reluctantly, but it doesn't matter if you do it reluctantly or reluctantly, the move needs to be done all the same. So some nice discipline here from Chris. I know that placing a last meeple is just not what we want to do, but we have to in this particular instance. Of course, Owen instantly take advantage of that, trying to build an 8-point city risk-free without committing a meeple to it necessarily. Yellow, of course, cannot claim that city because they have 0 meeples in hand. But yellow can try break it up a little bit. But then there's another problem that if yellow goes here, which would be the standard city breaking move, then suddenly that could break up this connection and leave Chris without a meeple. And so Chris chooses to not break that city at all. Well, at least now they can go over here and at the very least complete it without claiming it. OJ 2 points ahead on the scoreboard. They're probably looking to maybe go here, build up the monastery, although I'm not such a huge fan of this sort of build-up pattern. I think ideally what we want to do, we want to get a tile here first, and only then a tile here. Red does build up regardless, and I am not a fan of that move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's actually only 1 curve remaining. So it is now entirely possible that Mr. Lime is going to go over here, get himself 1 point, and then set up the completion of this here yellow monastery with the final curve. I think Chris should consider doing that. Instead, Chris makes a move which is honestly really bad. It's rather big mistake, not one that you should make with 9 minutes on the clock. I'm not sure what's happening to Chris. He had a rather strong in-person Mind Sports Olympiad this year, but sometimes he can be a little bit inconsistent, like play, I don't know, 90% of the game really strongly and then just miss one small thing. Now, yeah, this, like, I can understand, of course, the idea, trying to build up the monastery in a way that would make it completable with another monastery. But the issue with placing this tile over here is that it sets up the completion of the monastery for red, and yet somehow it ends up working. So Chris there with a little bit of magic makes me eat my words. I mean, I still think it wasn't correct just because of the risk of red completing this here monastery. But I don't think any of that is going to matter because red draws themselves the perfect tile. The splitter at the bottom to take advantage of these point differences. And also a platform for farming. Now, a field majority is absolutely in the cards for Chris. No, for Owen, sorry. And I guess what Chris needs to do is just get some sort of a Dorito tile and try to shield this meeple from entry. Or, now that I think about it, there are actually not that many sequences of tiles remaining for red to enter the field in the first place. So, in most scenarios, this guy does stay here at 6 points, even if yellow doesn't do much to obstruct them. Chris now chooses to not meeple the new monastery, which is quite interesting. I can certainly see that. With 15 tiles remaining, a meeple can be used for something better than 8 points. I presume that was the logic. This also happened to be the last monastery, so it is not possible anymore to complete this monastery with another monastery. It is only possible to do so with a city cap, of which there are 2 remaining. Yeah, and I think Chris's plan is actually quite solid. Again, showing some discipline in a lot of cases. Like now, Chris chooses not to meeple this because he realizes that there are multiple field invasion platforms at the bottom, and by dropping a couple more farmers, he could end up himself with a 15-point field, which of course exceeds an 8-point monastery in value. This is a very close game, and actually, isn't Chris just ahead after this? So let's see, these 2 monasteries cancel each other out, these cities cancel each other out. Well, Owen has 17 in this area for the monastery plus farmer, And then Fanatical Lime has roughly the same number of points over here. Oh, but after this move, I do like Chris's position. 13 tiles in the deck is still enough time to try and leverage that meeple advantage. Owen now with a city cap, typing something in the chat. Let's see how good is their trash talk in Welsh. Saying I can't believe I missed that block. Oh yes, of course. With this here tile, instead of scoring 2 points, they could have considered going over here and blocking the monastery instead. That would have been a bit of a point sacrifice, but yeah, as we can see, Fanatical Lime is saying 2 points. 2 points is 2 points. So some cheeky banter in the chat is happening at the moment. Also, to be honest, like, I don't actually know the precise meaning of the word cheeky. I just know that this is something that British people say in sports context. In the sports context. Oh, so that's an interesting strategic decision for Owen. So basically, they decide that they do not want to do anything much about that field at the bottom. And there were some options, like they could have gone here, for example. They could have actually tried and get this yellow meeple, get this red meeple into the field. Maybe this is what they should have done. I don't know exactly. I know that this here platform is going to be taken advantage of by Chris. And I think now I can actually understand the strategy of Owen quite well. They're basically just going to abandon this field. Hope that not too many invasion-y things happen there. Then if they do get the last curve, they can, I guess, technically re-invade. Ooh, but they're not going to do that. They're going to instead get themselves a meeple back, which I do quite like. So both monasteries end up completed eventually. Fanatical Lime with an extra meeple here. Owen is threatening an 8-pointer. And that would be extra 3 points from their farm as well. Hi, Matt. So, the player with the citrusy screen name does successfully invade the field and also meeples a new city cap, but gives back a 4-point road for Owen to take advantage of. And now Chris doesn't have that much extra that he can do. Maybe here, continuing the city. Maybe here, continuing the other city. Actually, wait, this here move was not a good move from red, because I realized that red accidentally set up a horse tile for yellow, and there's still one horse tile in the deck with which yellow can score 3 points, 1 for the city and 2 for the road. Yeah, generally you don't want to be giving road ends pushing into your opponent's ruins. You want to perhaps give road ends pushing into your opponent's completable cities, because they're quite restrictive. But if the city is already blocked, you just don't want to set up horse tiles. And if anything, these sort of 2-point moves are the type of moves that yellow should normally be doing in that position. And the game is close enough that even a small thing like this could end up game decisive. Oh, and look at Chris. Chris chooses to invade the field on the left. Figures that the field on the right is not enough. I want more fields. More fields. Chris is saying to himself with 5 minutes remaining on the clock. And now my first instinct, of course, is, can we block that invasion at all? So if we go over here like this, there's still one road Dorito, if I'm not mistaken, and I am mistaken, there are no road Doritos, but what does exist is one rose tile, so we can limit our opponent to a rose tile. If we turn it the other way around, we can limit our opponents to irregular crossroads. So there's only a chance to restrict, but there's no chance to fully block that square, is it? And Owen decides that it is worth doing, and actually I do quite like that decision, because now Chris needs the same tile in two places, the rose tile to invade, and of course the rose tile to complete his city for 7 points. OJ gets the last horse tile, so this setup is not going to be completed. I have no idea what they can do. Oh, I know. Yeah, the invasion is interesting. And sorry, not the invasion, but the 2 points. But I thought that they could have gone here and dropped to farmer. I think that was a stronger move. I think that was a miss. Oh, yes. From Owen's perspective, if we go here and drop the farmer and try to equalize the field, I think that's basically a win, because there are tons of tiles that fit there for invasion. There are 2 crossroads, one vanilla and one with a city. There's this tile, and maybe there's even something else. Well, not necessarily something else, but also the issue is that we allowed our opponent to complete the city, and also we know now that Owen would have successfully invaded the field had they only seen that invasion platform. I think that this game is possibly going to be decided by who draws the rose tile. So if Chris invades on the left, he wins, just because he has a lot of fields to himself. But if the rose tile is drawn by Owen, well, then he's just going to finish this city and drop a farmer. Which also makes me think, from Owen's perspective, if we just bet everything on the last rose tile, why don't we go over here and kind of like pre-protect our city? Or we could just calmly take 2 points, but then there's a risk that our opponent blocks our city. I didn't quite fully calculate what the remaining tile was. I know that one of them is a rose. Yeah, Owen goes for the insurance road, and that is, of course, very smart, because now, if Fanatical Lime goes over here, which I think he still should, he will give a meeple back to red, and red will still be able to place that meeple somewhere and score. That is a very, very nice move here from red. And it actually works either way. If if Fanatical Lime gets this here tile, then we know what happens. But even if this tile were to have been drawn by red, then this is just a 5-point road, and it is a justified investment of the last meeple. Hi, Napalm. Yeah, and he chooses to invade the city. Invade the field. But give Owen a meeple back. And Owen scores 8 points. That is actually quite something. So finishing the city, that's +5. Dropping a farmer, that's +3. I think that the fields of yellow should still withstand everything, but I know that the difference will be like a couple of points, not really that much more. Yeah, look at this. Just only 5 points is the difference. So we know that this tile here, was that a decider perhaps? Maybe even not. Maybe even Fanatical Lime had a chance to withstand this here tile. Although no, this probably was the game decider. But this just brings me back to the one and missed chance here from Red. Of course, Red was in trouble, but so Red is saying perhaps I should have played. Whoops, let just me not type everything by accident. Red is saying perhaps I should have played for a field invasion at the bottom of the starting tile. No, not that field invasion. I think both opponents missed this here invasion with the horse, which looks insecure because it can be blocked, but actually it was like, I don't have the exact percentages, but I think it's 7 out of 12 or something like this, or even more. No, it's definitely more. Yeah, so Red is saying, I'm not sure if that would have gotten me enough in the end, regardless. I think the rose tile was a winning tile for you. No, I think that would have been enough, no? Because, first of all, it would have denied Fanatical Lime this here meeple. That's a huge thing. It would have denied him the city points. It would have denied him, like, the extra scoring. And it would have given us 15 points extra? 18 points extra for the farm. Yeah, this invasion here absolutely was the way to go. Yeah, I think Owen is thinking about basically going for an invasion here. But they're much better off dropping a new meeple compared to their old 6-point meeple. Yeah, this is also quite a common pattern. Like, very often, when you get the splitter tile and drop the standard farmer over here, then this farmer is very often just better off staying where it is, simply just scoring 6 points and then taking care of potential invasion platforms. Because, like, for example, yellow can't really drop a farmer here productively because red connects, and red is probably just happy to stay here, and then red invests yet another meeple to invade in a different option. So I think that was probably the route to victory. Another opportunity was maybe to try and do something in this square and block this ultimately, but I think this was a reasonable restriction. Eventually a rose tile was drawn, and the more experienced player ended up taking the first one. So Owen needs to win 2 in a row now in order to be the first Welsh player to ever reach national finals. And so far they're doing quite well. They're the starting player, so that's quite nice. They have 4 points for this here city, 3 points for this here road. Fanatical Lime with 3 points for this here road. Of course, it's still a pretty good position here for yellow, as yellow was able to successfully prevent red from completing this here 8-point city at the bottom, something that we cannot say about red in relation to this here yellow city at the top. Of course, they're trying, but Chris is now going to get themselves the 8 points and the lead on the scoreboard. Right, so now further blocking attempts ensue, which is correct. Nothing much that Chris can do about it, so he's going to get his meeple restricted quite severely. Only 2 tiles left that fit into the square. To add insult to injury, of course, he had in hand the tile that would have completed him the city. But look at this extravagant move, and it works yet again. So Chris invaded the city, and had he not done that, this splitter would have gone over here, and red would have gotten 8 points. Isn't that interesting? Fanatical Lime is now trying to desperately save this here city, restricting the blocking square towards way fewer options. Now we see that OJ cannot go over here anymore. They can, I guess, just continue their city. Although if we do continue our city from red's perspective, then suddenly yellow can get a curve and then like really severely block the blocking square. And with that, they would be saving their own meeple indirectly. I don't think that We want to allow that. In fact, from Red's perspective, I think we now just wait. We first want to draw a blocking tile against the square, such as an extender or a vanilla city cap or even a monastery, anything that fits there, because 2 tiles is still a significant threat of meeple recovery. And only then, only after we place something over here, then we bother completing our city. In some scenarios, such an approach leads to us losing a meeple as well, but it still seems to me the most accurate course of action, and Owen concurs, placing a meeple to equalize this here city/ruin. Now, neither player should be really too worried about this here area. And a Fanatical Lime now tries to build up over here, try to exert some pressure against this here square, tries to protect his meeple, which is now going to work. Of course, it is absolutely worth doing. And there are also some nasty scenarios. How yellow could get himself a Dorito, do something like this, limit this poor red guy to one of the 2 remaining horses, and then later permanently block this square. It is relatively common that sometimes in Carcassonne the blocker becomes the blockee. And we're getting some more fireworks as Owen is working on aggressive scoring, trying to build a long road which goes through the city of Fanatical Lime. Fanatical Lime is building up this road over here for 5 points, completely secured. 6 tiles, 5 tiles rather, that are left to fit into the square. Probably going to come with a farmer. Owen now with a difficult decision here. They could finish this here city and drop a farmer, which I do like, but then not a road, Owen, not a road. It's not worth it. Oh, it's not worth it. Oh, it's not worth it at all. This might be even a misclick, although given the fact that Owen is not typing anything in the chat, I am very, very worried. So there are several problems with this, but we need to address everything one by one. A couple of moves ago, Chris made a very committal decision to separate the 2 cities, running a small risk that red will be able to complete their city here on the left. But the big reward for Chris is the ability to potentially get himself a completed city here on the right for more points. We will find out soon enough if it was going to work. But basically, regarding the farm, we see that finally Owen occupies the farm. And it's a very important farm because it is 12 points and it is completely closed on all sides. So it is actually possible for either side, and now really for red only, to take sole possession of that farm. But not anymore. No! Come on! Chris, what was that? So the move is fine. Of course, Chris wants to build up the city. But why don't we take the 9-point farm? This is like completely beyond me. This is a wonderful, wonderful investment of a meeple. And then we're going to get a straight line. We're going to get a meeple back. We're going to equalize over here. If we get the dagger, it's going to be a 12-point farm. Yeah. So first a misstep from Owen, and now a much bigger misstep from Chris. And I think I know why this occurred psychologically. Because they figured that, oh, nice, I can just build up my city, right? But then Yellow probably had forgotten that this was also a legit farming move. In the meantime, this here decision from Owen, which was a reasonable decision if not for this road meeple, ended up costing them a little bit, as they are now going to likely lose this meeple here on the left. Yellow was able to block it with a curve. There is now only 1 tile left that fit into this square. And just probabilities-wise, does not look great. But it's a fantastic tile for Owen nonetheless. They could do 2 things. The best move is to go here and start a new city and basically just get this road meeple out of harm's way. Because although this road is super, super nice, ideally we don't really want... we don't really want to have two meeples tangled in that position. Yeah, only one meeple, so that's very nice for Owen. They're now going to equalize the scoreboard. And suddenly, this is looking just fine again. Fanatical Lime, of course, if they're now going to go over here, they're not going to be able to drop any farmers, as this move would automatically connect this here. Red guy into the field. So maybe something like this or like this. Some sort of a blocking attack. No, he chooses to just get the meeple back, which makes sense. And Owen is going to end up with a 9-point field and potentially a 12-point field in their sole possession. Also, one thing I have to say, these farms are like really aesthetic, aren't they? You know, like the super closed farms, it reminds me of my own game in the 2023 World Championships against Alfonso Arroyo from Spain. There was also like a very closed 12-point farm, which ended up being decisive. Yeah, I recommend you watching this video. It is from December 2023 or something like this, or November 2023. But this time it is the Welsh player who is benefiting from this efficient farming situation. In the left part of the board, Red managed to avert a disaster by almost invading this here city on the left. This here protection from Yellow will make sure that nobody can go over here and try to overrun that city, but Fanatical Lime is trying regardless. And it looks like a wise choice. There are two positive outcomes for Yellow. Either we get a Dorito and then we get one of the two remaining triple cities and win the city worth 22 points or something like this. Or we just get a city plus road tile and we block this here entrance, and we end up with a mini battle of 9 points versus 1. And which of the outcomes do you prefer if you're Chris? This is very interesting. So he can inflict harm with this tile, but which type of harm is better? My instinct is to... You know what? Like 75% or 75%. And this is just game winning, right? And we have the meeple advantage regardless. I think we go here. I think we don't bother blocking. Yeah, both moves are completely fine, but given the situation on the board and given the fact that Yellow is not in real meeple trouble, it's okay to have one meeple frozen for 3 points, just to have these two critical tiles which basically win you the game on the spot. And yeah, the position of Owen is now just miserable. Like, none of their meeples are really in poor condition. This farmer is excellent. This road is very nice against this here meeple. What else? This city, of course, is problematic, but there's still one tile to get it back for 10 points. Then that would be a reasonable chance for Owen to win this. And of course, this here city cap is never a huge threat really in it. So let's see what Red does here. It's their last meeple. I'm inclined to start doing crazy things like this. Maybe setting up a sinister hamster, soon to become an evil hamster for 9 points. I could also go here or here, try to pressure this square a little bit, try to put myself into a good meeple situation. And look at Owen. They do find a rather strong move here, so they are going to go for that monastery option. We're going to find out very soon how that's going to work for them. Now probably the continuation of the city, getting it out of harm's way almost is the way to go. It is not the easiest move to pull the trigger on, simply because there are some scenarios how this here meeple gets blocked towards this here critical square, but it's still worth doing, because like if we don't do anything, our opponent goes here with a straight road, restrict us significantly anyway. I think it is also another option that also quite works. Just turning it the other way, so yellow gets themselves an 8-point monastery. Owen immediately with the points to get some compensation, but not enough, as 9 points go to yellow's scoreboard. Yellow is also going to drop a farmer as well. A monastery for red, but just not the right kind. Not sure about this here farmer. It is a 6-point field without too much potential. We don't have any more splitter tiles like this to expand the field. We do have, however, one road monastery. Maybe that's why this farmer makes sense. Because if a road monastery goes here, we're going to see endless expansion of this field in that here area, taking care of these here 2 cities. And whilst Owen is thinking where to place this monastery, for which I don't have a good answer, maybe going over here, actually just building another monastery spot for the future, trying to try further desperation tactics. But we're going to see what they come up with in a second. In the meantime, it's time to read the chats. Oh, look at this. So the first monastery, the monastery has been placed here by Owen. I did not expect this, but it ends up actually working quite all right for them, as they now building up their city. At the top, the monastery is already looking quite nice, and they managed to get one of the 2 critical tiles. Now only one triple city remaining for this square. So if Owen gets the other one and puts it over here, then maybe Owen can get a meeple back and still have a fighting chance in this game. Now, also quite interesting question we have in the chat, saying that yellow will not place a dagger here for the mini city. And yeah, I do agree with that. I think actually if red were to get this here dagger, red might be forced to complete the city for yellow, and that would totally work. But after this dagger has been drawn, it is no longer relevant, because it was the last dagger of its kind in the game, and now another dagger has been drawn. The one and only dagger that was needed for this square. And Fanatical Lime can now choose between 2 things. One, of course, is taking these 8 points, which is what I'm tempted to do. And option 2 is go here and invade the city of Owen. Oh, look at this. This road monastery does end up expanding the field endlessly. So I think Fanatical Lime has got this. I think we're going to have ourselves the first finalist of an online championship with a fruit-themed screen name. I'm not sure exactly what is more precise. I guess invading at the top is more precise, but we just have to know the exact scores. So the main question that we have to answer is, if we go here and our invasion is never successful, then do we still win if neither side gets a meeple back? And also, can we lose if Owen gets the last triple city tile and then gets the monastery meeple back? And I guess the answer appears to be yes, as Mr. Lime takes 8 points and does not invade the city at the top, and Owen just doesn't have any options here with the crossroads. Of course, normally you want to go over here and protect that square, but there's nothing that fits here anyway. Yeah, so some miraculous things need to happen soon enough, and this just ain't one of them. I think what I want to do if I'm red, I think I'm going to maybe go here regardless. Yeah, exactly. And this is basically just to mess with my opponent's brain, to make them think that there's still one tile remaining that fits into that square. Oh, look at that! Owen does finish a sizable city for 16 points. Now almost equal on the scoreboard, and now all Owen needs to do is just, first of all, get themselves the triple city tile to dodge a disaster over here, and then maybe do some quick point scoring. Curvy tile probably belongs over here. Although I'm not quite sure about this, maybe it is time to invade the field of Fanatical Lime. Maybe over here, dropping a farmer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No curves remaining, so that is not going to work. If we go here, first of all, that invasion is blockable, and second, even if we do succeed, that is going to be worth only 8 points and not 9. Wait a second, wait. The field is 12 points. The field is 12 points as a result of this completed city. Yeah, we really need to think about potential invasions. And actually, unfortunately, this here move ends up thwarting the very goal that we had. An invasion is no longer possible in this area. I mean, ideally as OJ, we just need to draw different tiles. Like, we need to draw 4 points over here first. We need to draw a triple city for this here area. And then with our last 2 tiles, we need to invade. But maybe beggars can't be choosers. And we have to invade right now. Still one straight line available. Yeah, maybe if we do go here, it's like a lame 11 points invasion, which is easily blockable, but maybe that's the best that we got. Owen still has 2.5 minutes to figure this out, which is really not a lot, because there's 6 unseen tiles to them. Well, some of them we know, the triple city, of course, the dreaded triple city, the crossroads, the straight line, and a few other things which might be of little consequence. A road Dorito is one of them, which is actually not that good. Ideally, what you want to be left in this position are something like vanilla city caps. If you want to invade here at the top, then you need to make sure that there's at least one tile in the deck with which our opponent cannot block this here connection, right? Yeah, it's a tough. So an alternative is to not do a field invasion right now, but maybe do something like this and just set up a field invasion, because then later we can draw crossroads, get a farmer like this, get a straight line, connect like this. That could be an option. Oh, this here invasion. Yeah, I see what Matt is suggesting in the chat. Yeah, of course, it just doesn't work because we don't have the tiles. No! No! So, look at you friendly teammates, both miscounting the exact same tiles. Yeah, unfortunately, surprisingly, there's nothing at all that fits into this square. And unfortunately, this will make Owen lose this game very quickly. Oh, and it does not matter, as Fanatical Lime cashes on his 75% setup, completes a city for a spectacular 28 points, so that there are no questions about who deserves to be in the finals. Experience beats youth once again, just like yesterday evening in the Chilean semifinals. The same we see in the United Kingdom semifinals. GGS, the players are exchanging pleasantries. Hopefully we're going to see some sort of post-mortem game analysis as the points are still being counted. Fanatical Lime said, I think I messed up taking that 8 points with the left dagger. Possibly. I think the move was fine because there were, again, some scenarios, as I was saying, there were some scenarios, like if we don't take these 8 points, we can go here, and then we end up not connecting, and then OJ gets the triple city, and then liberates the monastery later, and just ends up going on a rampage of quick points. So that was certainly not an easy decision, whether to take these 8 points or to invade the bigger city of Owen. So Fanatical Lime is saying, yeah, it would have been insurance against you getting the CCCFs. No, that wasn't an insurance. That's the other way around. So basically from Yellow's perspective at the time of that critical decision, I don't think that it was possible to find a 100% win. Like a 100% win simply wasn't there. But then what exactly were the percentages? Was there a 92% win, a 95% win? This one I genuinely don't know, and that is what makes this game interesting. But I like the approach of Chris, that he chooses to really be like self-critical even after a win. He's also like that in person as well. That is a quality that I do admire. In that particular instance, it is entirely possible that these 8 points were in fact correct. Yeah, OJ saying, I think this game swung when you got the first Road Monastery. Not necessarily, you know, because this Road Monastery necessarily is not a win for Yellow. Why do I keep necessarily saying the word necessarily so much? Because, first of all, if, let's say, Yellow goes here, then if Red were to get this here tile immediately, Red could have actually gone over here and blocked that monastery, and suddenly 8 points for Meeple is still not that much. That said, I definitely still like the idea that Red used to set up that monastery center. Just ended up not working out, and Red was indeed quite far behind. Yeah, I know now Chris is talking about that dagger situation here. Owen saying, breathe the sigh of relief at your greed. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think that the game was out of reach. Like, there are definitely maybe even like up to 5% or something. Maybe a little bit less. Well, yeah, the Lost Farm, of course, was a mistake, now that we know that there were no Dorito tiles remaining. But then there's just not a lot of things to recommend. I think really it's just over here. Yeah, you drop a farmer here, you hope that your opponent gets something like this, then you invade. These are 11 points. Then we get the triple city over here. Fanatical Lime does not get the 28 or whatever points are here. I think we still lose here as a Red, but we lose with way, way fewer points. Yeah, and Owen is saying exactly the same thing, that he was tempted to go over here, and then he did correctly infer that too many blocking opportunities were possible. Yeah, another alternative again was going here and like setting up a connection like this in the future, but maybe that was just not the wisest idea. I think Red probably should have gone for this, as blockable as it is. And we know that, in fact, this would have been blocked. Oh, there we go. So, Fanatical I'm saying, immediately regretted not farming in the middle. Yes, of course, with this here dagger. This field must have been taken. Ended up working just fine, as Yellow did have a few meeples to spare as a result of that. Right, I'm just going to leave you to read the chat, because I realized that the chat is in English, and like for most other championships I have to translate the chat for you, but here I'm just literally reading the messages out loud. So let me just read your message instead. Small Red Van is saying unstoppable Chris 2-0 again. Oh yes, Chris did. Oh yeah, Chris won everything in this championship so far. He won the first 5 duels, and then the semis. So Matt Hiely-Rayner has some prep to do for the finals. Ice Maze is saying there were only 2 blocking tiles. I think there were 3 blocking tiles. Straight line, Crossroads, and also the Road Dorito counts as a block. No, the Road Dorito doesn't work. No, the Road Dorito does work. Because look, we place the curve here, not the straight line. We use a farmer, and then the Road Dorito goes here. So there were in fact 3 blocking tiles. The 4th tile was this one, which we need to draw anyway. So in fact, from Red's perspective, we had to hope specifically for our opponent getting something like this. Alrighty, let's read a little bit further. Yes, the farmer of Red and taking this long road was actually clutch. That was a nice find, really nice find. Yeah, consider not meepling the monastery at the bottom left. No, I think it's fine. Indeed, Red had to score points, so... And the thing why that could really work is because we know from Red's perspective, Red wants to draw these 2 tiles. And these 2 tiles fit just fantastically here and here anyway. Oh yeah, of course we're referring to this monastery, not the other one. So that would be a way for Reds to take advantage of the tiles that they already need. Yep, indeed. From Owen's perspective, they had to go close to desperation mode. Yeah, they're now discussing the first game. And going back to the first game, I think neither player mentioned the potential invasion here with the horse. So this is something that they will discover later, perhaps. Owen is saying they're overall pleased with themselves, and I have to agree. They might even get third in this tournament, which would still make them eligible for the Champions League. Of course, Owen is going to need to play for third place with David Faraci, and we don't know exactly when that is going to happen, but probably at some point in the next few days. Then there are some rugby references in the chat which are going completely over my head. Oh, thank you, Icemaze, who has already calculated that the horse invasion wins 8 out of 12. Yeah, my first instinct was 7 out of 12, but then I figured that it has to be a little bit more. Alrighty, so congratulations to Chris again for just steamrolling everybody, and we're looking forward to the finals. The rest of you have something else to look forward to. We're gonna have one more stream today. Now, neither Czechs nor Germans I'm gonna cover, although the Germans are going to be covered by Icemaze. So you can watch their third place match between Loisha and Medusa. Hope then there's going to be a longer break, and then these here Chilean third place match and finals, both best of 5. We're going to have ourselves a long evening again. So in order to not miss the notification, make sure to subscribe and click the notification icon unless you already have, and of course meeple the like button for the algorithm, which is more helpful than you might think. Time to have a break now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.